Let's go ahead and start with Nick Kelly here on the top right.
Hey Nick, you got a chance to see some of your backup quarterbacks play in this game against Mercer. I'm just curious to get your thoughts on how they played.
Yeah, I thought all of them did a nice job. Certainly there was learning moments for each one of them, but as far as just execution and moving their unit, I thought those guys did a nice job. And every snap that you get is invaluable for their growth and development. I thought all three guys did a nice job.
Jump to the far left and go to Katie.
Jalen's one of the few players in SEC history to have 15 passing and rushing touchdowns in a season. Just what makes his skill set so good in both areas, and maybe how you encourage him to embrace both roles as a quarterback?
Well, he's uniquely talented. His ability to throw the football, and obviously his speed and quickness as an athlete. And so, I think what you're trying to, encourage all the players is to continue to grow, continue to develop, identify the things that are your strengths to build on them, and then identify things that you can improve on and try to make those your strengths. And so, I think he deserves so much credit for the work that he's put in throughout his career, and becoming as good of a football player as he possibly can be. So, he's had production in both areas, and the more you do well, both as a unit and as a player, the harder you are to defend. So, I think that's the goal for each player, each unit is to do a lot of things really well, so that you're tough to defend.
Let's go to Charlie back on the right.
Yeah, hey coach, just when you watch Oklahoma, what kind of jumps off the page about their defense?
I think obviously the schematics are one thing, but I think with their coaching staff and their history, just the way that they play, and I say that in the highest of compliments, the toughness, the effort, the swarming to the football, the physicality with which they play. I just have a ton of respect for their players and their staff on how they play. Certainly there's the schematic challenges that you deal with each and every week, and this week will certainly be a challenge from that standpoint, but more than anything, just the way that they play football. I have a tremendous amount of respect for their staff and for the players for how they do that.
Let's go to the back of the room to Ryan.
Coach, touching on that, just to be in a road environment Saturday night with the season, every game so important, how do you go back to maybe an LSU game and use that for Saturday?
I think you lean on your experiences in some of those environments. No two situations are the same, but certainly relative to things that you have to deal with on the road. I think each time that you're able to do that, you learn, you grow, to just help you handle those situations a little bit better. And certainly this will be an electric environment and against a really quality opponent.
You have any other questions? Let's go to Michael back here in the middle.
Just beyond Ryan and Jeremy, just what did you see out of the receivers that got into the game beyond that?
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of players, not just receivers, tight ends, running backs. There was a lot of guys that touched the football, which was great to see. And so I think you see some of the flashes with some of the young receivers that we have in our program. The Caleb Odoms, the Rico Scotts, some of those guys that have been, have played some this year certainly. But you can see some of the talent, some of the explosiveness, some of the ball skills. And there were other guys as well. There's certainly guys that have played a lot of football, but there were some young players that I thought went in there and did a nice job. And continue to grow, practice really hard. Coach Shep, coaches the heck out of those guys. And so, we're encouraged by some of the young skilled players, and not just at wide receiver, I think tight ends, running backs. There's some good young players in our program. There's no doubt about it.
Stay on the right side of the assembly.
What's Richard Young showed you over the course of the season, just in terms of development?
I think toughness. I think physicality. He's a decisive runner. He runs behind his pads. He's a great kid. He's very well liked. Not just by the other running backs, but by the whole team. And so you see that. He had a really tough, fourth down run. He ran through a guy, and he's done that. He's done that, back in spring practice and training camp. And so he's just a great kid and a really tough runner. And runs, like I said, runs downhill. He's decisive. He runs behind his pads.
Let's go to Alex right in the middle.
What have you seen out of Parker Brailsford this season? What kind of attributes makes him effective for a guy who's a little bit undersized?
I think the thing with Parker is he has strength, and so he might not be the biggest guy, physically, but he does play with power. he's got great body control and great balance. He's not on the ground very often, and he's got a great command of the offense, the communication. Coach Cap has done a great job, and even though there's similarities in what we've done in the past with the offense that Parker was a part of the last few years, there's still a transition with some of the communication. I think Coach Cap and him have really just done a great job, making sure that we're on the same page, we're going to the right people, and so he's certainly a confident player in what we're asking him to do and the leadership that's required from a center position. But on top of that, his change of direction, his body balance, body control and balance, I think is excellent. And he's a tough kid, plays hard. So we like Parker a lot.
Any follow-up here with Charlie?
Just kind of sticking with the offensive line, you guys having a lot of sack in back-to-back games. How have you seen the pass pro come along as the season's progressed?
Well, there were some moments Saturday that I don't think we were maybe as clean as we would like to be. I think there's I think pass protection really falls on all 11, falls on the coaching staff as well, of trying to minimize the opportunities that the opponent gets to really pin their ears back. And when you are in those moments, just being mindful of what you're asking your players to do. And so it takes all 11. It starts obviously up front, the identification, the technique, the fundamentals, but then the quarterback making sure that he's reading the play properly and getting the ball out on time, the running backs in their pass protection or their routes, and the skill guys of getting open at the right time in the right spots. And so when you're able to do that, then the quarterback's able to get rid of the football, guys are open. So it takes everybody. Running the ball more effectively and efficiently certainly helps that as well. But that's certainly a key for us, and the team that we're going against this weekend has done a great job of creating pressure on the quarterback and sacking the quarterback. And so that's pretty common in our league. There's no doubt with the fronts that you go against, and so making sure we stay out of some of those situations will be important.
We're going to finish up with Jack here in front of
You mentioned Caleb Odom as one of the young players kind of stood out, obviously almost connected on a deep play early against Mercer. How did you see him respond to that, and just how have you seen him kind of just grow overall in that receiver room?
Yeah, he's a great kid. I think he's a really conscientious, hardworking player. He has talent, there's no doubt about it. And so I think anytime, those moments present themselves, you learn from them, and so that's what I expect him to do. I know that was, his approach yesterday. He's just a really conscientious, hardworking kid, that has great football in front of him, and his attitude has been good. He continues to work hard, practices well, cares a lot about improving as a player, and so, like I said, I think he's got a lot of great football ahead of him.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks for your time.